something in you goes, I want what that is, God, and I'm willing to do anything, and I'm willing to pay any price, whatever that looks like, to do that.
There was almost a grieving season when we went out of the basement, and it just got bigger because what was actually happening was discipleship in our basement. But then it got bigger, and so then we had to section it, if you like. But I don't want it to be a mess, because I know Hope always talks about this, but so much of it has to do with you being the pastor who's actually a worship leader, which is a rare thing. But I hope just if you could even bring that, because I remember once you saying how you catch something. It's not like you've been taught, like all of you guys have been taught, well, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. Maybe explain that, because
you haven't read my instructional manual on 3 steps to being a great worshiper?
Because that's so much part of it, which then has carried on that now you guys are in this discipleship group, because obviously Henry and I have other responsibilities for the whole church, but we never wanted to neglect how it's always been.
You know, I'll never forget the first night I walked into your basement and Henry was leading worship, and it was just on a piano in a room with maybe 15 people. But the presence of God was so tangible and so thick. Like, I get emotional just thinking about it right now. It wrecked me from the inside out, and it was something that I knew my soul longed for, but I had very rarely experienced in tangible ways. And something in you gets hungry for that. Something in you goes, I want what that is, God, and I'm willing to do anything, and I'm willing to pay any price, whatever that looks like, to do that. And I think when you have pastors, that you're not just carrying a vision because you want to see an end result. You're carrying a vision because God wrecked you guys first. And you came into an atmosphere where people were hungry and thirsty, and you approached it from a place of going, I think these people are thirsty for something more than what they've tasted up until this point. Or maybe they've tasted it before, but they want to taste it again. And you set such a precedent for going after the presence of God and it being the thing that would change you. And I think from the very beginning, you want that. And I think it's so impacted our team because Henry and you as well, like, you led from such a place. I mean, you would worship harder than anyone, Alex. I mean, you just were so passionate in your worship. And Henry was so, honestly, you're one of the most anointed worship leaders I've ever encountered in my life. And over the years, watching what you carried caused me to go, God, I don't know what that is, but I want that. And it's something you do, you catch. It's not because Henry sits us down and says, you should do this differently, or you should do this better, but you see the impact it's having on lives, and you see the impact it's having on your own life, and therefore your heart begins to go, God, clean me, clean my hands, clean my heart, whatever it takes to carry your presence like that so that other lives can encounter you the way that I'm encountering you. Well, that becomes the driving force behind it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly, and that's the discipleship, and everyone would be able to say this, and that's why we don't neglect discipleship, because I believe it's inward, outward. Whereas a lot of people focus on performing, rehearsing, getting it perfect. But if you can perfect that, which you're never going to be perfect until we get to heaven, but you work on the inner heart, it's only going to flow out. And so I think the hallmark of our house is discipleship, and that what work goes in comes out, and then it flows out to the
I love that you
people.
You even referenced Alex as in her worship. She goes hard, in her worship, which she's a worship leader off the stage. And I think that I love that that's actually been replicated here. That worship leading and worshiping it's not just reserved for a platform or when there's a mic in somebody's hand, or it's constant in our lives, in your lives, on and off the stage. And I think that's such a huge part of it, because it is easy for people, and maybe people even watching today and have just kind of slipped into that, just that going through the motions of this is what I do, but that worship's never going to feel fresh from that place. And, you know, I want to encourage every person that's, you know, maybe listening right now, if you feel dry, just get off the stage for a minute and just go and find yourself in your room. Go and find a place away from everything else and just start worshiping God. Just get in that place, because what you guys carry on a weekend is not a result of showing up on a Sunday morning or a Tuesday night of like, okay, well, all right, what songs are we going to do? And, you know, let me look through, what's Andrew rostered? Or, you know, it's you've gone there beforehand. You've come ready. You're ready to go to battle. You're ready to step in and see what God wants to do, which is, you know, I want to honor you guys because you carry that in such an incredible way. So it's, it's
You guys,
awesome.
though, have done such a great job of caring about our health, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and our marriages, more than you've cared about what we could offer the church. And there have been seasons where I took a season and stepped back and didn't lead for a while, because we all agreed there was a level of more freedom and more healing that Jesus wanted to do. And we didn't want to complicate that season for my own heart. And I think that I want to commend you for that, because that's not often what happens, because there's a lot going on, right? And there's a lot of need, and there's a lot of things just moving, and it's easy to think, well, we'll just figure it out as we're doing it. But you guys, from the very beginning, whether it was in the basement, you know, and there was no platform, but you were always setting the precedent that we care about people being right and healthy with Jesus more than we care about anything else. And I think even when we lead, that's one of the greatest motivators from our hearts, is that we're actually hoping that the person that's walking in for the first time that maybe needs that same kind of rest or that same kind of healing is encountering Jesus in a fresh way to receive that.
Yeah.